Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, and we've watched the Democrat debates as much as we could tolerate, and we are ready here to give you our analysis. You know, like these sportscasters do, Thomas, on football. I know you never watch football, but, you know, after everything, and you can see the plays after they're done, you give your perspective. That's what we're going to do right now, okay?
Oh, that's exciting.
So I hope everybody is seeing these and can follow along, and we're just going to go nonstop. You know, first, let's talk about Bernie. How did Bernie do?
Well, you know, I want to make a few general remarks, if you don't mind, Betsy, because the conclave, I've only just cleaned it out now because they've been laughing their rears off since the Democratic debates, because it was amazing. We couldn't come up with a single fact that was actually stated from anybody at either the first or second debates. Not one single fact. Not of anything. No facts. Only emotions, sentiment, and rhetoric, and what do they call that? Virtue signaling, and playing to all of the magic words of the Democrats, which appeals to who? And someone explained this to me. You, as a Democrat, must allow everything there is, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter whether it means you're going to grow horns on your babies' heads, or you're going to kill the babies, or you're going to do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Everything goes, right? Well, we saw that in this debate. Everything goes. Not one single direct, real question thrown at any one of them. Not one question. And even the food fight that happened, well, that was a staged racist food fight. We're going to go to that in a minute, but it was absolutely a racist attack by somebody who lied, Kamala Harris. That she's black. She's not. Okay,
well, wait till we get to her.
Oh, okay. So anyway, in terms of general remarks, we have been laughing, as we told you, for just, how long has it been? So much winning is happening. Let's see. Trump tweets, "Hey, Kim, why don't we meet and cross over into the demilitarized zone of North and South Korea?" Historic event, all by a tweet. And they say his tweets don't count.
No, but here's the exciting thing about that. Trump already knows that he can communicate with the citizens of America through his tweets. We just read his tweets and we just bypass everything in the media. And now he's taking that to the next level. Now he's just tweeting out directly to the world leaders while everyone out here watches. It's full transparency and it's direct talking. This is what makes him a very stable genius.
Oh, absolutely. And what he said about every single world leader says, "Hey, congratulations on your economy." In other words, you're kicking our butts. Let me translate. That's what that means. Every single world leader said, "Please let up on us. You're kicking our butts." And so he let up a little bit on South Korea because South Korea made this little arrangement so that North Korea, that was perfect. China takes credit for it. He lets up on Japan. You want to know why he let up on Japan? Because off the shore of Japan is the largest
now, Thomas, we're supposed
shallow
to be
waters,
about the Democrats.
Rare earth minerals, the largest ever found, which then makes China have no leverage whatsoever with North Korea or with us. That was the last thing they had with us. Remember, just weeks ago, they threatened the rare earth mineral thing, and I laughed, and the whole conclave don't even...
Back to the Democrat debates.
Too much laughing.
Let's go back there.
Okay.
So, Bernie,
the socialist?
Bernie Panders is his new name.
I loved the meme you had there. Yeah, Bernie Panders, and he's turning around going, "It's Sanders, not Panders." I want Bernie to speak a sentence without being angry, where he doesn't accuse or aggressively attack, which is the stage beyond being a Democrat, right? A Democrat. You can be a Democrat, but then you can be a demon rat, and then you can be a socialist demon rat, and then you can be a fascist and a Nazi demon rat, and then it goes all the way to the left. But he is completely all the way to the left crazy now.
Are you kidding? Free health care for illegal aliens, invaders. Free health care for the people invading your border. Free health care for the enemy.
I want to say two things about that. What American has free health care? We have...
No, but they will. But if you don't pay for your health care, they're going to fine and penalize you. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's because of Obama and John Roberts saying that it's a tax. But you see, what's really going on there is that's pure insanity. Let me tell you from direct experience that Medicare only pays 80%. How come none of the Democrats up there on the stage who want Medicare for everybody, they don't say Medicare, Medicaid, and other state supplemental programs or anything like that. No, Medicare for everybody and no more private programs and give free. Okay, Medicare is not free. You pay 20% and you pay, there's a gap of 20%. You have to have another Medicare or another program like AARP or Medicaid or something.
Let's not forget that we've paid into the system throughout all the years we've worked. So it's not something the government gives to us. It is something that we already bought into and permitted the government to then hold that responsibility to give it back to us when we're ready for it.
They're holding the title.
Not to give it to invaders.
They're holding the title of our retirement called Social Security. And Social Security also includes Social Security disability insurance as well as Medicare and in some cases Medicaid. But they don't know what they're talking about. There's not a one of them on the stage of those Democrats has a clue where their head is or where a hole in the ground is because there's no such thing as Medicare for all that's good coverage. Okay. It kills people who are on it. They need to take a little bit of time to research it.
So if we look at a Bernie Sanders versus Trump runoff, then we're looking at straight up communism versus capitalism.
Yes. Now remember that when all of this started just a few weeks ago, Bernie was down in single digits. And then all of a sudden he went to the very top of the field overnight. And then he got 20-some points, almost 30 points ahead of everybody. And Joe Biden was still down in single digits. Remember that? And Joe kept saying, I don't know if I'm going to do this because of my family. That's because his son had sex with his other son's wife, as well as before he divorced his wife. And so when he says his sons, it wasn't the death of his children that has upset him, because he seldom talks about that. It's actually Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is the millstone around his neck. It's sunk him.
Let's talk about what has been revealed about Joe Biden.
Let's go back to Bernie. Let's go back to Bernie, because Bernie's socialism can't work. I just want to say, what did Bernie say? All of them said 70% taxes on the wealthy, right? He calls it the 1%. He's got his statistics all wrong. Let's just call it the wealthy. Okay, what happens the second year after that? Those people aren't wealthy anymore. They won't make that much money, and it'll only last 1 year. Well, we're going to go after Wall Street. You can't go after Wall Street because it's corporations, Bernie, and they pay your bills. And Soros, who pays all of your bills and supported the Democratic National Committee where you took your funds last time. Remember, Bernie, he gave over $2 billion and another $2 billion in his super PAC to support you from behind the scenes. And remember, you allowed Hillary 17 times in a row in the primaries to cheat you.
And never challenged it.
Never challenged it. And you capitulated, though less than 24 hours before the election, you said you would never capitulate. You capitulated. Didn't you? You made everyone in the room so angry you had to run out of the room, and then you're running again? Is anyone really going to believe those poll numbers? Please, folks. Don't believe any of the poll numbers.
Okay, go back to Joe Biden. Finish off with him and talk about what's going on with him in the recent news.
Joe Biden is not only a creepy Joe who, does weird things to children, especially female children, but he's a guy who was charged over and over again with his Secret Service having to watch him swim in the nude. And no matter what, with the female Secret Service, they had to take all the female Secret Service out of his house because he refused to put on a bathing. Praises segregationist. He praises. Oh my Lord! Has there been anyone he hasn't insulted in the few weeks that he's been in the run? No, I don't think so.
But it's really about China and Hunter Biden and what's going on there that's going to be what's going to sink him.
Well, first off, in Ukraine, he got on to that also has come out, and Joe also said that Hunter did not hire a lawyer to go after the person that was going after Hunter Biden being on the largest Ukrainian natural gas board of directors, which is a paid position. And Joe said he didn't do that. He didn't use his position as vice president. Well, now we know he did. And now we know there's all these communications. And so then he said, Joe then jumps and says, but I didn't do any business when I was with Hunter in China. if you look at Peter Spicer's book and Empire, Empires. I forget the full name of it, but it's been, everybody's read this. Everybody knows Joe and Hunter and what's her name, Chris Hines. Chris Hines is on the same board in Ukraine, okay? That's where all that corruption came from. And then they go to China, a $1.5 billion deal, as well as other deals, as well as just basically Hunter Biden thought that he was like Hillary going to get a board on President Xi's totalitarian communist inner committee. That's really what is going on here, folks. Remember, Joe Biden was given by the Nazis in Ukraine. Remember, the Party of the Regions is the same party that supported the Nazis. They are the Nazi party. They are Antifa party. Antifa uses their same symbols and everything. So, Joe Biden was given the highest order that he could give. And what did he do afterwards? Like all of them. Look it up. He gives a Heil Hitler sign. Unbelievable that we allow this association with Ukraine to go on.
Not to mention, Joe Biden also has a lot of corruption to share with his good old pal Obama. I mean, wasn't he in those final meetings where they were scrambling to cover up all the spying they had been doing?
Yes. And if he was in the room, he was, as Susan Rice says, he was in the room along with Comey giving a report. An update, because it had been going on. Now we know, and don't get me started on all that, but we know that Obama knew of Crossfire Hurricane from the moment of its inception, July 26, 2016.
Okay, how?
He gave orders.
You can't just say that and walk away. How?
Because of the FOIA requests of Judicial Watch has brought that forward. We now have also testimony of James Baker behind closed doors that has been released. We have all these testimonies, and it's all saying the same thing. What was Susan Rice's message saying? Obama did it. I was only following orders. Oh, Clapper came out recently, in the last 2 weeks or so. I think even less than that. And he point blank stated, Obama told me to do it. And you're going, well, of course he did, because Obama told the world that he was taking the raw NSA data and giving it to everyone, including Five Eyes. That was the entire British attack from Christopher Steele, along with Stephen Halper, along with Dearlove, along with the whole MI5, MI6, Farr, the head of the Joint Intelligence Group. All of them were involved in this, okay? And that was Obama trying to cover his rear at the last minute, saying, I'm giving out all NSA raw data to supposedly cover all the leaks that have happened since this election, actually since December 2015, which were the only ones who ever point that out.
So, Obama. Many people say that the Obamas handpicked Kamala Harris to run.
We think that first picked, what's his name? Obama had already picked his person, and he is now out of the race.
Oh, yeah, Deval Patrick.
Got knocked out because of his stupidity when he went down to support Abrams and the rest of them in the South, and then came up saying, the election was rigged when it was like a landslide against him.
We outed him early on.
He's a Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Okay, well, he's gone. Now, I do always say that he could be the dark horse you have to watch for, because if you go through this whole list and nobody's percolating and nobody can beat Donald Trump, which you're going to see nobody can, then what you can do is that they'll just throw somebody in at the last minute. You've got your dark horses, Hillary Clinton, Big Mike Michelle Obama, and Deval Patrick.
Yeah.
Now, they might have some others, but we have opposition research on them all. But the reason I talk about that, let's go into Kamala Harris and her questionable background.
I just want to underscore what you just said, Betsy. The DNC, the Democratic National Committee, doesn't have to do a darn thing.
No, this is all a dog and pony show.
Only one person, we found that out with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that when she had totally sold Bernie down the river, done everything illegal, let Hillary take $84 million from Maine alone, let her combine all the donations into her PAC and did everything illegal. And then we found out Donna Brazile stepped in afterwards and continued the illegality, and that Seth Rich ended up getting killed, and supposedly hacks. They weren't ever hacks. They weren't even breaches. They were planned releases. They had to release it because, yes, the information had been stolen. They could see it was stolen. Finally, two people got brave enough to release it. So what goes on at the DNC does not freaking matter. All this money being spent, all this effort being spent, all this Democratic primary means nothing. It has absolutely no bearing on what they can do.
Yes. What it is an entertainment event for you to raise money for the DNC, because you send in your donations, and then once they get your money, their rules are they can pick anybody they want to run. They can pick Hillary Clinton again.
In my lifetime, I have seen people nominated from the floor who were not in the primary, who then became the candidate. Hillary Clinton could be nominated from the floor to avoid the embarrassment of the primaries. Okay? Now, I'll throw out one other crazy one.
That's very interesting because
the DNC doesn't have to do anything.
And the DNC didn't have money to spend on primaries.
No.
So this would be a way for them to forego the primaries altogether.
They don't have George Soros. I don't think Soros has picked his Democratic favorite because Soros knows that he lost bad with the best Democratic offering they ever had in history, Hillary Clinton, and he lost $1 billion that day because Trump won, and he knows that Trump's going to win again, and that's a foregone conclusion.
Let's go back to Kamala Harris.
Oh, Kamala Harris, who is not an American, she's an anchor baby. The Constitution is very clear about naturalization, and both of her parents had only been here for a few years. When out of wedlock, they had a child. They were both here on student visas. One from Jamaica, one from India, both naturalized there. Therefore, neither are Africans,
and
they're neither black.
The one who is from India, on the birth certificate, identifies herself as Caucasian
because she is.
Yeah, so Kamala Harris is Indian Caucasian and Jamaican.
Yes, and when you and her father's father literally had 5 plantations. Hundreds of slaves, black and Irish, white slaves. And when you see a picture of him, he looks like something in between everything. You can't tell what in the world he is. And basically, he supposedly left this wealth, this town that was named after his father, all these plantations and this wealth. He got up and left to become a student in America and knocked up some girl. He never really, we don't have any proof of their marriage. Still looking for that. And then what happened?
Or their naturalization.
No naturalization papers so far.
And the question is how does Kamala Harris prove her citizenship to us? Answer that one.
She says she doesn't have to. She's 100% a citizen because she's an anchor baby. She was born here.
Well, then you've got the Supreme Court getting ready to rule on this DACA issue. And I want to know, now, if Ruth Ginsburg is dead, which many out here believe she is. We have seen no public sighting of her since September 2018. If she is dead and her staff is her proxy writing her decisions now, are these decisions from the Supreme Court coming at this point in time any good? Are these Supreme Court justices committing treason with the American people by not revealing this? Because it's coming to a head where we're going to have to decide on these anchor babies.
Anything can happen in the Supreme Court. Look at Scalia. He was murdered. Okay? And he was murdered. I don't want to get into the absolute bizarre circumstances.
Outright murder, and no one cares about it. Nobody. A Supreme Court justice.
Right. Yep. And so, is Ruth dead? Oh, she could just have a look-alike. She could have a robot. I don't know. But listen, everyone in America wants to know that she's well, and she won't show her face. So I'm sorry. I do not believe something's up.
So anyway, in our issue with Kamala Harris, we don't care that she is Jamaican or Indian. We care that she's a United States citizen and a natural born citizen, so that she is eligible for the office. We don't want to be Obama'd again. But the point is, she's going around telling a big fat lie, and she knows it. She is culturally appropriating the African American. That's what she's doing.
Oh, 100%. She calls herself black. The last thing someone from India who is a Caucasian, who claims they're Caucasian, look at her mother. Her mother's clearly Caucasian, is not Dravidian. That would be black. But even then, that would not be black. That would be Dravidian. And so she cannot...
But she's lying to people.
Okay, let's go back and say, oh, black, wait, a Jamaican who's black. That means that her father would have been a slave. Or his father a slave, or both. No. Her father's father had 5 plantations in a giant city named after him.
I see now. Other articles are coming out. Over 100 slaves, 120 slaves.
And
Kamala
place.
Harris believes that reparations should be paid.
Yes.
So I think that if your ancestors are on this slave list that is now known to be Kamala Harris's ancestors, you need to get yourself a lawsuit together so she can pay you.
Absolutely. Those are just the African slaves. There's the Irish slaves that aren't even, they didn't even make lists of because they treated them so bad. And there are 5 plantations. So we have the lists from 2. One is 128, I think. Another was like 90 some or so.
Oh.
And so you can see all of those. Those people need to do, and all their relatives need to sue Kamala Harris.
Yeah, because she has now identified herself as being this person who wants reparations. Now, the other thing is about her relationship to Jussie Smollett and that whole charade out in Chicago.
That's why he thought he could pull that off. He says, he's a political supporter of her, political supporter of Hillary, a political supporter of these crazy demon rats. And what does he do? Oh, I'm so cool because I'm on one of the coolest shows there is on TV. And what's he do? I'm going to stage something to take Donald Trump down. He needs to go to jail. That's a hate crime that is against national security.
It was a hate crime committed on all Americans because it was publicized, you know?
It's against the law to really attack the president, and this was a direct attack. Plus, Jussie had already planned to send white powder, and even the fake white powder saying that it is
anthrax.
That's an attack. He already said he already was involved in that, and that's the reason the feds are involved, and the feds caused the case to reverse because his previous attacks on the president. And this man goes on, and he's seen in picture after picture
with Kamala
and with the Obamas.
I know,
lovey-doving it up as anybody could possibly be. What can we expect from California, where Pelosi comes from? Diane, what's her name? Weinstein, China Stein, what's her name? China Dinah, whatever her name is. She's as corrupt as anybody possibly could be. Oh, that's where Adam Schiff is from. That's where some of the most evil people in Washington are from. What could we expect? And remember her relationship with good old...
Don't forget Nancy Pelosi is all over there, too.
The mayor of San Francisco, when he was 60, dated Kamala Harris when she was 29, okay? That's how she got the job of the Attorney General, and he's proud, and I've heard him say it again and again on the news.
That's Willie Brown.
Willie Brown was proud that he dated, and when he'd say dated, he'd laugh and go on and on about, exactly what he was thinking. He dated her, okay, and she got the job as Attorney General and did one of the worst jobs anybody could. So we don't accept your anchor baby California nonsense, Kamala Harris. Just get off the train. And matter of fact, get out of Washington because you are the same corrupt cloth that Nancy Pelosi is cut from.
Okay, so then you have this whole group of them, I'm going to call them the Spanish-speaking beta boys. Okay, and we don't even need to remember their names because they're going to be off the stage soon, and that would be your Beta O'Rourke's and that Cory Booker and a bunch of them. I don't even remember their names. Well, he didn't go out and break out in Spanish speaking. I was going to.
He did speak Spanish.
I call him Pete, but whatever. I mean, the guy has got his own problems as a mayor that are just all over the news. We are not going to elect, the American people are not ready to elect a gay couple in that office. What has he done?
I have interviewed, as you know, thousands of people. I've had 250 people a year who I was in charge of. Smart people, PhD people, really smart people. And I've done a lot of interviewing. And when I run across someone who uses an affective voice like that, whether they were in the military or whether they were in education, I won't hire them. Pete, whatever his name is nothing but a liar. You can see that he was set up and he was put through this path.
He was a Rhodes Scholar. So
for heaven's sakes,
folks. He's a globalist right in your face.
He's a Clinton.
Yes.
If he's a Rhodes Scholar, he believes in the worst philosophy that is out there for internationalism. It's international imperialism based upon Anglo-American alliance. It's a horrible thing. It's worse than trilateralism or the Bilderberg Society. It's worse than all those. That's who he is. And so his fake, everything about him is fake. Everything about that man is fake. And now that he's being contested in his own little place, I think people should bring his record out front. And when they look at his record, they'll see that he's an absolute nothing. He's fake. He can't even speak in an honest tone with his voice.
Well, then you've got Tulsi Gabbard, kind of on the same league, and she is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, another globalist, right in your face.
Oh, she's a setup. And she has been ever since she came out of the military. So there are certain people who are identified in the military, and they remember the Council on Foreign Relations. Most of those people, probably the majority of them, were either military or past military, and that they always get these power people in there, not just the rich people. So they go after and they identify women who look as if they're going to be power pushers, who are previous military record, and they bring them into the Council on Foreign Relations. They teach them all of their international nonsense, which is why she speaks that nonsense of George Soros, open borders, insanity. Nobody in the military believes that, Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody. No, I could not find anyone right now today. If I went in the military and said, do you believe in open borders? They're going to go, I'm putting my life on the line to make sure there are not open borders. What are you talking about? You will get angry people. So Tulsi, you are a fake. You are the worst of fakes, because you know you're lying, and it was so obvious in the way that you started off in the debates. And then at the end, what were you? You were using your talking points that the aggressive men who are controlling you, the Council on Foreign Relations, told you to say. You are a fake. You are a fraud. You have been, in the way that you have systematically attacked the very things that made you rise to everyone's attention. You are nothing more than a sensationalistic political tool. And I don't think that you would have the guts to run a McDonald's, let alone a country, to be quite frank with you. I don't think you have the skills.
And then the mayor of New York, what is he doing running? De Blasio.
He's there to angrily yell at people, to say, I'm against Trump, to say, I'm sorry Eric Schneiderman got kicked out as Attorney General attacking Trump, and now I'm glad that I placed my new person there, and they're spending every single dollar they have, because that person has come out and said so, and you're seeing that now all across the board, every Trump, every business being attacked. That is de Blasio, Cuomo, and the new Attorney General working with Eric Schneiderman, still working behind them.
The New York District Attorney General.
Sorry, the New York District Attorney General.
And by the way, how come we haven't seen any indictments from Bill Barr? He's been on the job for a while.
It takes a long time to indict somebody in D.C. Boy, you have to, and you also have to remember, if he finds indictable information, he's not like the Attorney General who's supposed to reveal that as they find it. No, he's supposed to find out how far it goes. Well, how far it goes in this case will take him.
What do you mean? Wait a minute, that didn't make sense. You said that as the Attorney General, he can't release that information? Or he has a responsibility. The IG has to release it, right?
The IG must release it.
But it sounded like you said AG there.
I'm sorry, the
IG must release it if he finds or she finds crime.
Yes, the Inspector General for the Department of Justice right now, Michael Horowitz.
Which is why Michael Horowitz hasn't spoken, because he doesn't see any crime anywhere. Nowhere. No. Because if he did, he's supposed to report it,
you
correct?
Must indict them.
Oh,
because
my
he collected
goodness.
the information.
He collected it? So
he literally, that moment, he must come to the Attorney General right then on that spot and say, here's the indictable information. But no, he gives a report at the end to say, oh, there's some political bias. It was a whole lot. Okay, maybe there's a whole gigantic amount. Oh, they displaced 55,000 text messages. Oh, they threw away the phones. They smashed this. But everything's okay. That was his report. Same thing with Andrew McCabe. Crime, all these crimes, he listed actually 3 sets of crimes and probably a dozen crimes altogether, and says, but we choose not to prosecute. This is what Michael Horowitz does. And so... well, this is what the Department of Justice is set up to do, is to protect Hillary and all these people and their crimes. Yes.
They have 500 attorneys there that are senior executive service, and they run their own show.
Now, on the other hand, William Barr cannot tell anybody anything. He is in an investigation. You know how long it's going to take him? Let's just take one tiny thing. No, not one tiny thing. Let's just list a few things. Crossfire Hurricane. How long will it take to get to the bottom of that? Holy moly. The 28 crimes of treason of Comey that we outlined. Holy moly. How long will it take to get there? The 25 Russians that we have named who acted against us as literally war actors during the election. How long is it going to take to get to that?
Well, I can tell you something. If we elect as a people, any of these Democrats, we will never get there. We must stay on the Trump train. Now let's keep going. Then we have another group of people, the angry feminazis. And this is a group
Can I say something about the beta boys?
No, because you lost your time.
Oh.
And then in that group is Elizabeth Warren.
She owes the money back from going to an Ivy League college for lying. I've seen the documents. She needs to go. She either pays it back or it's a crime and she goes to jail. Which one? It's a fraud. She knew it was a fraud. I am American Indian, and I find it insulting that anybody could say, because her mother told her she had high cheekbones, that she would then lie to get student loans to go to an Ivy League college, which was a setup to begin with, obviously, and then, pops open a beer to announce her run for candidacy for president. And her husband comes home and she treats him like he's a stranger in the house. This is a nutcase woman. She is a screaming, angry. Remember, she ran that organization that was the fake Obama organization for businesses. She was supposed to help.
The consumer protection.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
she invented that.
Yeah, no, but it was just a scam. It was a money laundering operation, and then when Trump got in, they cut the wings on that program.
And it was out of that Ivy League college that she came up with that stupid idea. And so then they hired her to do it. They paid her a fortune. No, none of us consumers were ever represented. Nothing good for any of us. No. And then what happens to her? Then she runs for office, and then she's there, and we're listening to this crazy woman who's never done anything, who cheated to get into college, who cheated to get through, and still cheats now, and nobody says anything. Pocahontas, you're not I don't claim to be an Indian. It's disgusting that you did that. It's disgusting they allow you to even run when you have defaulted on your student loans.
Okay.
Every one of them.
Beta boys.
Oh, beta boys. Beto, he uses that name because that's what Mexican people call Robert. Today he's in Mexico campaigning. He went across the border to Mexico to campaign. This is the nut. He did too many drugs. Every type of drugs and too much alcohol. That's the reason he's been arrested repeatedly. He was arrested so many times they stopped arresting him, and then when they would arrest him, he would tell them crazy-ass stories, and they would simply take his keys from him and let him walk home because they didn't want to put him in jail again. He is a nutcase. How they ever let him run for anything in Texas and how he ever got a vote, I don't know. Just look at the way he is not connected between his brain and his willpower, his limbs. That's the reason his limbs flail around like a crazy person.
Okay. And then we have, I'm not finished yet with my roster, so just stay with me. Then you have two issues that they all agree on, that illegal invaders, illegal aliens should get free health care, and that babies can be aborted all the way.
They're murderers. Remember, they're murdering people by saying that there's an open border here. They're murdering people by saying, come here, we give you free medical insurance. We don't, except to them. And trust me, as a principal of years and years, I saw this.
Well,
I worked with these scenarios.
Is it really, if you look at both of them together, they want that health care for the women so that they deliver babies that they're able to go in and snatch in their whole human trafficking operation? I mean, you have to wonder.
Okay, I want to just point something out to you. Everyone out there listening. Sorry, do the math. How many people were in the last caravan? How many people ended up in Tijuana? And where the hell are the rest of those people? They were all human trafficked. We are talking about 1 million come across that are that we know we have documents on, that we literally catch and we say, oh, we give you asylum, you come back to your case, none of them come back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there's 1 million of those people. How many didn't we catch? Another 1 million. Where did they go? Human trafficking. And the children are the worst human trafficked because they are brought back and forth across the border. Like, dig this. The young man who had the child on his back that drowned in the water, you would never do that with your child. You would never, ever put your child at danger by trying to swim across a river like that. That wasn't his child. Check the DNA. That was another small child being human trafficked. It is disgusting. So the demon rats, they want death, and then they want to tell people, come over here, 100% medical insurance. So when you have your baby without any prenatal care and it costs $1 million, we pay for it.
So far we have no candidates and we have no good ideas. And then we have one person standing there all by herself. Marianne Williamson. What are we going to do with her? Is she going to be the contender?
Is she the last one standing?
It looks to me like she's the last one standing.
Because you're right, some of those other people are sheer idiots. I'm sorry to have to say to some of the states, and our state too, how these people get elected. Those are the worst people. I would never hire any of those people to work at the Tasty Freeze that we used to own. No way. I would never hire those people. How did they get to be governor of a state? And then they get up there and they, with their bad teeth and with their stinking hairdo and with their insane attitudes, preach like they should be the president? No, here's why they're there. Because when they get donations, if they drop out soon enough, they get to keep most of those donations because they get to keep them in their coffer. They keep them in their war chest. They use them for their next election. So that's the reason you find people who are already elected running for these high offices to have giant donations, also directly from the taxpayers. Every time you say you donate to the presidential election, you give those idiots money. And so they simply come to collect money. And yet, what do? They have nothing to say. I don't know how they run their states. I have to assume they don't. I feel sorry for the state of Washington. I feel sorry for other certain states where I saw if that's the best they have. But then again, our state too has had some very pathetic governors. Anyway, so Marianne Williamson wrote how many books on love? I think at one point she had 3 books on the New York bestseller list, all with the word love in it. And all she had to say was love. And for a while, she traveled all over the world. She was Oprah's favorite, and they call her a guru. She's not a guru. She studied with Manly P. Hall, who I knew and have studied all his works. And Manly P. Hall really didn't have students. You could come to his lectures, and he had memorized lectures. That was it. He had no students. I knew him at the end of his life. He had no students, and she wasn't one of them, so she can't claim that. Then she went to Unity. Well, I used to be at Unity, and, Unity is like universal Unitarianism? Are you kidding me? They believe nothing. You can't even say the word God in their churches. You can't say nothing in their churches. You have to be careful. The word love is about the only word they allow. But anyway, that's what she is. She used to be right here in this town. I helped bring her here with some other people. And I know her personally, and I know her very personally. And I know the intimate details of her life. And I can tell you one thing. She's no expert on love. And love, she said she was going to bring spirituality back into politics. Well, sorry, Marianne, it was never in politics. You want to bring love to the district of crime? Are you kidding? You know what they do to people who are loving in the district of crime? They treat them like Seth Rich. They disappear. They swallow them whole. So good luck trying to bring some morality to the table at a table where there's no moral people. I think you stick out like a sore thumb. I saw an article yesterday where the Republicans are donating to her campaign to keep her in because they found her so funny in contradistinction to the evil on the stage. And there she stood like an innocent. But, Marianne, politics is worse than war. It is a war.